Hello everybody, welcome to the Comic Gaming Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and today I have an action classic for you, 2007's 300. The Zack Snyder special. To me, the best all-time Zack Snyder movie. It's the movie that when it came out, made me a Zack Snyder fan, initially. You gotta understand, when this came out, when Watchmen came out, I was like, oh shit, who's this Zack Snyder dude? And I was like, damn, who is this Zack Snyder guy? I'm digging his vibe. I'm digging what he's doing. And I think he also directed Dawn of the Dead, which is another movie that I enjoyed. So at this point in time, Zack Snyder was I was like, damn, Zack Snyder. Then he'd come out with Sucker Punch, and then I'd be like, and he hasn't made a movie I liked since. I don't mind Army of the Dead. I thought it was okay. But he hasn't made a movie that I've been like, oh, I dig the shit out of this since. But peak Zack Snyder is 300. It has all the Snyder-isms in terms of the visual stylings, the way it looks like a graphic. It looks kind of like the actual 300 because 300 is, obviously it's based off of the real-life stand by 300 Spartans against the Persians when they were trying to invade Greece, and and they stood valiantly, and they really blacked Persian's eye and really showed just how badass they are, being led by their king Leonidas. The whole story behind 300 in history and mythology, in real life, is just batshit crazy. The 300 Spartans stood against thousands of Persians, and although they ended up dying in the end, obviously after a while, the fact that they stood up to them as long as they did was so inspirational that it was so inspirational and so just I don't know how to put it, just badass that the rest of Greece went, well, fuck, if they're willing to do that, we got to get together. And it was almost like they sacrificed themselves to get the rest of the entirety of Greece off their asses, and that's the historical context of it. But then there was an actual book, graphic novel written. I can't remember who wrote it, but there's a graphic novel written about it, and obviously it's a drama. It's an over-the-top drama. I said dramatization. Oh, I can never say that word correctly. It's an over-the-top, more dramatic version of the events of real life. It's more of the top. It's more bloody. I mean, the real life thing is probably bloody as fuck too, but it's more of the top. It's more bloody. It has badass action sequences. The actual graphic novel was pretty. It's pretty awesome. It's one of those classic graphic novels that, if you go back and look at it, it's not the best. It's not the best graphic novel, but the visual stylings and the artwork for it are some of the best, in a comic. So then you get Zack Snyder, and this would be Zack Snyder's first comic book adaptation. In my opinion, this should have been what Zack Snyder stuck to, because Zack Snyder's style fits certain comics. Certain comics fits Zack Snyder's style. It was, and this was this is this thing on there, and this was one of those comics, and this is one of those movies that aligned, because Zack Snyder's dramatics and the way he plays with the sun, where it's always kind of blocked and kind of in the shade, and his over-the-top nature, the slow motion, the way he has all these dudes being, ripped and shredded, which for a change makes actual sense, because if you know anything about Spartan history or history in Spartan, basically every Spartan boy, from the time they're 7 to the time they're 20, is training to be a soldier. So every Spartan boy is when they turn 7, they're scooped up and taken away and training their ass off, and then they come back home after they're done. So every Spartan boy is trained to be a soldier. It's you had to be a soldier. So the idea that all these warriors are shredded, I'm like, I can sort of buy that. I know it's still over the top drama, over the top, version of it, but I can still sort of buy it, just because if you know history, these people have been training since they were 7 years old. So them being shredded isn't completely insane. And the cool thing about Leonidas is, and you don't see it very often, and in real life, but you don't see it very often where the actual king/leader is going into battle. It's batshit crazy. But this movie is iconic, really. It is an iconic. It's Zack Snyder's most iconic film, in my opinion. If for nothing, just one of the most quotable lines in film history is in this movie. Like everyone's did it. When it came out, everyone did it. People still do it to this day. This is Sparta. And like, anytime you see someone get kicked, that line is in your brain. Anytime I do it, if I'm playing a video game, a fighting game, and I just kick somebody, it's mostly push kicks, because you did a push kick there. Anytime. We still don't know if that pit has a bottom, because we never heard a thud. Like, there's so, like I said, and like, I will give him credit where credit is due. When the action scenes are going, they are going. I mean, that one badass to this day is still one of the most badasses. Like, this is what I'm saying. This movie, like, it kind of like, what's what I'm, it taps into, and it kind of like riles up the inner 14-year-old child sitting down, eating fucking nothing but like sugary shit, just going, yeah! Like, it's got this visceral thing to it. Where, and like I said, I'll never forget that scene. The first fight, Leonidas and his 300 Spartans were fighting the Persians, and they showed Leonidas just, and it was in slow motion, and him just, bam, and that shot the shield and shit. Oh, man, it was so good. It was so good. This movie made me think, holy shit, Zach Snyder. If only he kept making movies like this. He should have kept making movies like this, about characters and comics like this. But as soon as he started touching DC, I should have known something was wrong. As soon as he started touching actual DC characters, he had no fucking clue. He should have just stuck to doing characters, like books and stuff, that fit his stylings. Like, if he wanted to do a Dark Knight Batman story, like classic Dark Knight Batman story, should have just let him do that and not try to make an entire universe. I don't know why they did that, because this movie right here, 300, is proof that Zack Snyder, in the right context, with the right project, can do some great work. But you just have to have him on the right project, and this was. Now, is this movie the most complex or whatnot? No, it has its issues. It's not the best. Now, I'm going to continue on the positives, because I still enjoy this movie. Because as an action movie, it's great. And it's arguably Gerard Butler's best performance. I like Gerard Butler. I don't hate Gerard Butler. In fact, he was my choice to play Kraven. I thought back when they were going to make Spider-Man, when Spider-Man might have been hunted by Kraven, I thought Gerard Butler would have been a great choice to play Kraven. I thought he had the ability, he had the sense of humor. I thought he could do it. So, I like Gerard Butler. But he's been in a lot of shit. A lot of shit. I mean, a lot of shit. Like, and he's been good in a lot of that shit. Like, to be fair, he's been good in a lot of shit. He was in this one movie called Gamer, which was a very interesting movie. Maybe I'll do a review on that too one day. But he's been on a lot of interesting projects. Some have worked, but most have been complete shit. This is his best performance, in my opinion. It's the most memorable one, if anything. He was the lead of this movie. It was the most memorable performance. He was in the best shape of his life. He looked like $1 million. He was a badass. He had all these awesome badass scenes. This was the best. This is the most iconic role as Leonidas. Like, it really is. It will be unless he does something crazier, it will go down as his best performance, as his most well-known, my opinion, best performance. So not only is it Zack Snyder's best project, it's his best project. It's Gerard Butler's best project. Great action, looks stunning, looks like a comic book come to life, and whatnot. Now, the villains lack. Like Xerxes, I think, if I remember his name right, Xerxes, yeah, Xerxes is kind of lame. Like, they kind of play him up, but he doesn't really do anything. He just shows up and says some things. He looks weird. And the whole thing with the hunchback, like, was kind of silly too, even though that was in the book. But it was like, okay, this whole thing with the hunchback was kind of silly. Even though I do sort of like the idea that, like, they needed something to go happen like that just to kill all these Spartans. Like, 300 Spartans, and they needed to, like, something to help them get out of this situation. But, like, and like I said, like, so ultimately, when it does wrap up, there's also some stuff going on back at the home while they're out fighting, and that stuff isn't, like, the best well done. You know, and the whole thing with his wife being raped, and it's a whole bunch of stuff in this that aren't necessarily hitting on all cylinders. But overall, as an action movie, You have a lead character who's a badass. You have awesome badass action sequences that look awesome. Like, if for nothing, this movie looks awesome. And that's the one thing Zack Snyder is good at doing. More than, you know, a lot of, he's good at making things look cool. Like, and you know, sometimes it seems like that's his main prerogative, is making something look cool, but he's really good at making something look cool. But the thing that works out with this project is, it's not that complicated. It really isn't. And since most of the movie focuses on them fighting, and them dealing with that, the rest, it makes the movie fly by for me. I love 300. It's one of my favorite action films. It is my all-time favorite Zack Snyder film. It's the film that made me think for a brief moment in time. I'm like, dude, I'm a Zack Snyder fan. Like, this dude knows what I'm following this guy. If only I knew that, you know, and another, like, what, 12 years after that? Because this movie came out in 2007. Well, actually, because we may beat Superman. Anyways, I would give 300 as a film 6 out of 10. As a film, it's not the greatest film I've ever seen. As an action movie, it's a 9 out of 10. Great action, phenomenal action, bone crunching action. At the time, ain't nobody seen some shit like this. You gotta remember context. At the time, that was some of the best action anyone had ever seen. Still stands up to this day, but at the time it was like, whoa. But anyways, thank you guys for joining the Comic Game Movie Show again. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. What do you think of 300? Is it your favorite Zack Snyder movie? And if it's not, what is? Comment below. Thank you guys again. I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye. Oop, oop. Sorry, camera turned.